All right, what's going on, guys? This is the first episode of the Daybreak podcast.
Woo!
We are your hosts. I am Kevin Francis. I am a film student. I go to college in Florida. And then my lovely, amazing co host. Introduce yourself.
Hello. What's up? I'm Luke. I am an art student. I go to ECU. Just name drop that place because I don't know, clout. Um, but yeah, I'm here to have a good time and talk about some thingies, you know?
Yes, for sure. All right. So I kind of just want to get straight into it, honestly. Like, we're
Hell yeah.
obviously this is our first time like doing a podcast together. This is actually my first podcast I've ever done.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, I was in one episode of a podcast that one of my friends made, but that was more of like a we recorded during lunch during high school, so I don't think that counts.
Nah, I feel you. I feel you. All right. So I feel like we should do a little more introduction, how me and Luke know each other, because me and Luke go back. Luke is definitely one of
Go
my
back.
longest standing friends, if not my longest. We met in fourth grade down at
Hell yeah.
the elementary school, getting lit, hanging with
Yep.
Miss Guffey. That was our fourth
Oh,
grade.
dude, Miss the Guffster, dude.
Dude, Miss Guffey was the best, to this day, the best teacher I've ever had. Um,
Oh yeah.
but
No, she was great.
a little story on us meeting. Avengers was just coming out. I forgot which one.
Oh, it was the first one.
It was the first one. Yeah.
OG Avengers.
Oh yeah. And at the lunch table, when you're a little kid, you be saying stuff for clout, like, Luke knows. You're just like, oh yeah, I'm
Yeah.
doing this, like, I'm doing this. So I was flexing at the table. I was like, yeah, tonight I'm going to see the new Avengers movie. And Luke hit me with, bro, let me come. And I was just kind of like, bet. So we, like, got each other's information. I think that was, like, the first time we ever actually talked to each other.
Yeah, no, honest to God, I said that more of like as like a joke, cause like I didn't really know you like that, and I wasn't about to just invite myself. But I mean, shit, you actually invited me, and I was like, hell yeah, I want to see Avengers. Like
Yeah,
shit,
bro. I went home.
and
I,
then
like,
friendship,
yeah, I went
the
home. My
friendship
dad
was
works from
born.
home. My dad works from home, so I went home and I was like, yo, there's this kid Luke. I met him at lunch today. He's trying to come see the Avengers with us. And so I just called Luke, and then that night we literally just went and saw the Avengers with like it was like me, my dad, my brother, and Luke, and it was the spawn of a great friendship, you know.
Oh yeah, lots of shitheadery
Oh,
spawned from that.
so much just crackheadery came from that little like 5 minute interaction, man. It was
Oh
weird,
yeah.
but we're on the topic of Marvel, and as the podcast goes on, I think we're planning on doing like 3 episodes, seeing where it goes. If we like doing it, really, that's kind of what I'm here for. I'm like, if I like it, I feel like we should keep doing it, and then if people like it, that's a bonus. But if we do 3 episodes and then we end up like not liking it and no one really likes it, then like at least we tried, you know.
Yeah,
Um, so
we're
going
putting in
into
our best
Marvel.
effort.
Oh yeah. So going staying with kind of that Marvel topic. This is this is something. I go to school in Florida. Luke's obviously in North Carolina, and because of my major film, we get these questions a lot where we get asked what companies are doing that's like either giving them an edge, or like film companies giving them an edge, or um, just why they're so dominant in general. And I was in psychology one day, and this question got asked, and it was like, do you think Marvel is hurting cinema in general? And the class immediately split. Like, this was a Zoom class, but the class immediately split in half. Because there were some people that were like, no shot, like, you know, they had some really good points, and then there were, on the other side, people were like, yeah, you know, they had other good points, and we just discussed about it for like 2 hours, and I was like, all right, I have to ask Luke this. I have to ask like my Marvel friends this, because like it'd be super interesting. So I've been going around and I was asking people, and when I went and visited North Carolina a few weeks ago, I asked Luke the question, and it's a loaded question. Luke, I think you should go first with your initial statement. I'll say my initial statement, and then we can get into the points of it.
All right. So this is a multi-layered question, and it's not as simple as like a yes or no. Because, I mean, films as an art form are made to entertain. Now, I am very entertained by Marvel movies. I know that some people aren't. But if the goal of movies is to entertain, I think that Marvel is doing a good job with that. They are succeeding in the point of making movies. Like, that's just it. But at the same time, Marvel movies with their gargantuan budgets and their A-list actors and all of their NDAs and how they handle the actual filming of their movies, I do feel like that is hurting smaller budget films who don't have that kind of access to like CGI or A-list actors or, you know, general like larger studio resources, which can result in some really creative and really good films like The Lighthouse, which is a very low budget film with, I mean, it's 2 A-list actors, but 2 actors all in all. So you see a lot more creativity out of the lower budget films, but it's really a stark contrast from like what normal studios are able to make and what Marvel is able to make.
Yeah. So I think because I've had this conversation so much with so many different people, I've definitely started to lie in the middle by hearing everyone's different sides of it. At the first time I heard the question, I was like, yes, 100%. Because Marvel, like Luke said, has that huge budget. They have access to these insane resources. And I'm in film school in Florida. Like people have come to my school and then worked at Disney, and I don't want to put a harsh name on Disney. Disney is actually a very good company. It's a very well-run company. But
there's a reason why it's as big as it is.
Exactly. They can pay. For me, I think young people, me and Luke's age, that are getting into college and kind of this age group of getting in and out of college, right? So like 18 to, let's do like a 23, like a 18 to 23-ish age range. A lot of these kids are really creative, right? They can, and at film school, I have noticed these kids have talent, bro. Like, there are people that I've talked to, and they're like, yeah, I've had a camera in my hand, or I've been doing like special effects since I was like 5. And I'm like, dude, like, that's insane. So they've been doing this their whole lives, right? And then they go to school, they get their like they get their kind of tune up. And then in Florida, there's so many opportunities at Disney, right? Like when you graduate and you're a film student or you're a graphic design student or something like that, and you're like looking at jobs, Disney is one of the first places you look. And Disney will hire you. And Disney will pay you what you think is very good money, right? But they're saving some because they're like, oh, he's kind of new, it's his first job, we don't have to pay him a lot, but we're gonna pay him a respectable salary for what he can do, right? So they get access to these young kids who are insanely talented, and even the people that have been around Disney their whole lives, right? They're all super talented. But if you're looking at lower budget films or films that aren't really in the Marvel universe in general. Like, let's say a really good one, Uncut Gems, right, with Adam Sandler, which was a nice take by Adam Sandler. It's like weird seeing him act in a serious way and not in a comedic way.
Yeah, that movie really solidified my opinion of Adam Sandler, that he's a really good actor, and he's, he obviously knows what he's doing in movies, but his type of movies that he likes to make, like Jack and Jill and, any of his other movies that aren't Uncut Gems, they're just not for me. I don't find them funny, but I respect the hell out of him as an actor and as a filmmaker.
Yeah, and I think he's just a great businessman. He knows how to market himself really well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely worked really hard to get to where he is. But you look at Uncut Gems, and that movie was not received nearly as well as it should have. Like, it is a phenomenal movie. Every single person I've showed it to, because Brady, one of our mutual friends, he's the one that showed it to me, and I was like, this is just so good. Like, why have I not watched this before? Why have I not known about it? And every single person I've shown it to, they're like, it's so good. But I've also shown it to people, and they're like, oh, I'm bored. And this is where I think the special effects that Marvel always has coming in, because Marvel movies are bright. Like, there is, and I mean, you look at DC movies, and DC movies are not as bright as Marvel movies, which I know I'm bringing in the DC universe right now, but we'll get to that later. But Marvel movies are bright, they're super vibrant, which is the same thing. But
they're specifically made to keep the attention of the viewer.
Exactly.
They're more concerned about, like, watch time, like, in total, like how long your eyes are on the screen and how long you're actually paying attention to the film, while other filmmakers aren't necessarily worried about that. They're just trying to make the movie that they want to make.
Yeah, they're trying to make I feel like more of an art-driven project, if that makes sense.
Well,
Marvel
is a lot.
Yeah, go. Sorry.
It's a lot flashier, and it's specifically edited to keep feeding our short attention span. That's why you see a lot of action. That's why you see a lot of explosions and lasers and CGI. But something that I actually thought was really interesting was WandaVision, because that series ended up being a lot slower, and it took a lot more time to develop the characters and to portray them in a way that makes us understand the plot more. Like, we didn't see that much of Scarlet Witch before WandaVision. Like, you saw snippets of her life from, Age of Ultron to Civil War to, Infinity War and beyond. But, like, WandaVision really doubles down on her and explaining the state that she's in emotionally. It really defines her power, what she can do, and it's fucking crazy.
My big thing with WandaVision is because when I go to a Marvel movie, we were talking about this earlier, how they're really looking for watch time and keeping you engaged the whole time, right? The interesting thing about WandaVision is, since everything was slowed down, I thought the first 2 episodes of it were literally the most boring thing in the world. And I was like, okay, Marvel, like, finally missed the mark on something. Because I feel like Marvel is very, like, very accurate when it comes to, not accurate. Accurate's not the right word. They're very meticulous when it comes to what they're shooting, right? To keep people's attention. And if you're not a huge comic book reader, like for me, I'm not a huge comic book reader, WandaVision started off really slow, and I was kind of like, I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, why am I watching this? And it was one of those episodes that Luke and one of our other mutual friends, David, was like, yo, you gotta push through those first 2 episodes because episode 3 and everything after is just gonna be insane. So I
Yeah.
did, and I was very, very surprised with how good it was.
Oh yeah, and the fact that it doesn't boil down to large CGI fight scene. Like, I know the final episode has a lot of CGI fight scene, but like um even like the Vision versus Vision, that whole like plot twist, it didn't result in, you know, hands being thrown. It resulted in, you know, them tussling for a little bit, and then it became a real test of who's the true Vision
Mm-hmm.
with the whole Ship of Theseus section. And I think that was brilliant to show like this is exactly how Vision would talk to himself. He's a very intelligent being, and if he knows that the being he's talking to is as intelligent as him, he's not going to sugarcoat anything. He's going to get as intelligent as possible and try to logic his way out of shit.
It was almost like he was it was almost like they were both picking each other's brains, but they had the
Yeah.
exact same thoughts going through, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like,
It was basically Vision talking to a younger version of himself.
yeah, oh, like unexperienced
much.
version.
Yeah, because I find it really interesting where they leave Vision at the end of WandaVision, because the Vision that Wanda knows doesn't exist anymore. But the Vision that was left after Endgame is back to life. That's the Vision that is real, that actually existed in our universe. But it's still not the same Vision that Wanda knows, so there's gonna be a little bit of turmoil there.
Yeah, and I mean, I expected that turmoil to come after like the new Vision was finally released. I think it was in like the second to last episode or the third to last episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Luke were talking about it, and we are saying how. What were we saying? How Wanda was gonna look at that Vision and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is like the same guy, or same robot." You know, I fell in love with, but realized quickly almost that like it's not, because he doesn't have the memory that you envisioned that her and the original Vision had. And so when she got called the Scarlet Witch, finally, I was like, oh my gosh, stuff is about to go so south.
Oh yeah. No, I love how they treated the name the Scarlet Witch in this. Like, it's a title. It's a prophetic character. The Scarlet Witch is an omen.
Yeah.
It's a biblical. It's a character of biblical proportions, and it's treated as such. So you get the sense that Wanda, especially after spending an entire series getting to know her and how her mental state works, you get to see her as a larger than life character.
Yeah.
Someone who can bend the fabric of reality around them. And I think that's really, really cool.
That is really cool. And it was interesting, the last fight with Agatha, I thought was super interesting because it was like raw talent versus a bunch of research, right? Like, I feel like that's what the real show came. And when Wanda trapped Agatha in her own spell, that she an episode or two prior
used the runes against her.
Yeah, like an episode or two prior was used against Wanda and like mentally broke her. But that episode was so interesting because of how much we found out about this character. Because if you don't read the comics, you don't know anything about her, right?
Yeah. And even if you do read the comics, the Marvel Universe has strayed from the comics time and time again to explain different things. So what's set in stone in the comics isn't necessarily set in stone in the MCU. But I do think that second to last episode was really good as a precursor to the finale, because you really get to see what's going on behind the scenes. You find out that Wanda didn't get her powers from the Mind Stone. She's always had powers. She just didn't know. The Mind Stone amplified her powers. And it sort of ties everything together. Everything that you've seen in the show prior, why why Wanda's reality is set in different time periods in sitcoms. It's because Wanda used sitcoms as an escape, a way to, forget reality.
Oh my gosh, and something that tripped me out. Sorry to interrupt, but you brought up sitcoms.
Oh, you're good.
If you haven't seen it, this is kind of going to be a spoiler, but you should watch it if you haven't. And if you don't really care about spoilers, then whatever. But when her house got blown up and she was laying underneath the rubble, and the only thing that stayed on was the TV with the sitcom on it that she was just watching, dude, that pulled so much emotion out of me. I was almost crying. I was like, dude, that's like,
Mm-hmm.
and it made, at that point, it just made so much sense onto why she was doing it. Because I mean, at first you're sitting there and you're like, oh, she's watching sitcoms with her family, so I guess like it's kind of comfort. But to me, a comfort show is something that like you shut the doors, you're in your room alone, and you're just watching it to just like, have like a little warm heart. Like yeah, I don't know, the whole sitcom thing for her, I was like, that is dark and messed up.
Oh yeah, and also later on in that episode when they revealed that Wanda didn't take Vision's body, like Hayward said, I think that really goes to show that although Marvel has been painting Scarlet Witch in a really sort of evil light, she's not a villain, but she's also not a superhero. She's literally just a really emotional person who can change reality at a whim. Like, what would you do if you could do that?
Put her in therapy.
What do you think? Yeah, like, if you had the power to just will a different reality into existence, shit, I'd probably try that once or twice too.
Yeah, like
it's,
I feel like if you're doing that and you're realizing how much power you hold, it's like it's almost alive. And the therapy thing was a joke, so like,
Yeah.
but it's almost like you're coming alive with it. But something that tripped me out about this whole thing, right? Obviously, Wanda is super, super powerful, okay? But we've seen her in movies in the past get tired from using her power so much. So, and I feel like if you're watching a superhero movie, like, they get tired. They're bringing out energy in their body to do these things, right? At an enormous level. It blew my mind how she didn't get tired by keeping that reality there. I was wondering about that, because like, I thought if she was just changing 100% of the reality of the entire world, then like, I don't know, maybe she could live in there somehow, but she did it with like a little town. So I was like, how is she not falling to the floor after doing this? And Luke, obviously you're smarter than me when it comes to Marvel, so explain, please.
Yeah, so the explanation for that is that Wanda didn't really know the extent of her powers back before Endgame. She mainly just saw it as, I can make things float and I can, hit people with balls of energy. Basic superhero shit. But the really important thing about Wanda and the Scarlet Witch is that the magic she uses is a specific type of magic called chaos magic. And this is magic that is lent to her from an elder god in the Marvel universe, and that's sort of, I believe that elder god is the one who wrote the Darkhold, which is the book that she was flipping through at the end of WandaVision. But pretty much the elder gods are very like celestially powerful beings with powers on a cosmic scale. And how Scarlet Witch works is that she siphons chaos magic from that one elder god and basically channels it through her. And this is how all magic works, is you borrow magic from a different creature or a different elder god, and they allot different amounts of magic depending on who you are and how powerful you are. The Scarlet Witch, since she is a prophesized being, is basically lent all of this elder god's magic on a whim. So
she wasn't really
now-
feeling the effects of it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So she can keep an illusion, a whole reality. She can keep it up for as long as she wants, as long as she has that connection to that elder god.
Okay.
No, this is all pretty much speculation. We haven't had a proper in-universe explanation for chaos magic and how this works, but this is basically what I've inferred from what I've seen about chaos magic on, different YouTube channels and, different news sources and theories.
Yeah, like forums and stuff. All right.
Yeah. Also, before we move on to something else, I feel like we have to bring up the boner, the Ralph Boner joke.
The Ralph Boner joke.
They
Which one? What?
They turned quick. When Quicksilver was with Monica Rambeau in that little crib he has, he's just chilling. And then Monica Rambeau rifles through some letters or whatever, and she sees the name Ralph Boner, and then sees a picture of Evan Peters with the name Ralph Boner under it, and she looks at him and she says, "You're not Pietro. Your name is Ralph Boner." And he literally turns around and goes, "Boner," and just continues on with his life. I hot take think that was one of the funniest moments in the entire series.
Dude, I definitely laughed at that. I forgot about it until you said something. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. No, I know people are pissed because Evan Peters' Quicksilver isn't in the MCU and we wanted it, and I want it too, but it is way too early to be thinking about putting the X-Men universe into the Marvel universe, because you gotta think, this is the very beginning of Phase 4. Marvel just acquired the rights to Fox's properties, so they wouldn't have enough time to plan for another universe's X-Men to be in WandaVision when this show was planned probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, because these Marvel movies take so long to make. They're almost like Call of Duty games. People get mad at the creators of Call of Duty because they're like, "Oh, we didn't like this about the game, so why is it in this next game?" And they're like, "Dude, by the time that game that you're complaining about was released, they were halfway through making the one that came out the next year."
Oh yeah, because there are also different studios that work on the different games. And
exactly.
It's the same situation with Marvel. There are different smaller studios that are overseen by the same people, but they operate in very different ways. You're not going to see the set of Spider-Man operate in the same way as the set of like Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah. All right. I do think we should move on because we could sit here and talk about Marvel all day, and I'm sure
Oh yeah.
with Marvel updates come out within, times between us shooting this podcast, obviously we're going to talk about them. Luke is a huge Marvel guy. I actually, for a long time, I liked the Marvel movies, but I wasn't a huge fan. Like, I liked them, but I wasn't, like, a huge fan of them, and I didn't really care about the lore. But recently, I've started to research more of the lore of things, and it definitely made it more interesting. But I do want to touch on, we're both art students in some capacity. Luke does more drawing, I guess.
Illustration.
Yeah, illustration. Thank you. And I am more film, video oriented. And I kind of wanted to talk about our art schools and how they kind of work. If people out there are looking to go into art school, kind of what to expect. And I guess
pretty much our experiences with it so far.
Yeah, because for me, my art school, my school goes by really, really fast. So I kind of got thrown into the deep end pretty early.
Yeah.
And now that I'm starting to do more actual film stuff, and I know Luke is doing a lot of illustration stuff, because when I was there, it was just drawings everywhere in his room. I was like, dang, bro, you're on a grind.
Yep. Lots of multi-hour drawings. Yeah, I think this year has been a particularly frustrating year when it comes to school, because I just got out of high school. My high school year, my senior year, got cut off short because of COVID. Both of ours did. So really trying to go from high school into college with that like 4 or 5 month break was difficult in and of itself, but also being sent home 2 weeks after moving on campus and having to do art classes online, it's made it really, really difficult to keep my motivation up. But recently I've been doing better. I'm on campus right now. I'm keeping up with my schoolwork. I'm, making more friends and stuff. It's just COVID has turned everything upside down.
Yeah.
And it's really messed with the way that I view school and the way that I interact with school. Especially as an art student, because a lot of my classes are or should be in person. It's a lot of physical hands-on stuff.
Yeah, and I do have a question for you, and obviously if you don't want this in, we can cut it. Like, I'm gonna go through, I edit this podcast, I'm gonna like cut all the blank spots out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about motivation, right? For me, there's a few things that motivate me, school wise, and I didn't have these motivators in high school, but I have them in college. One is I'm paying money to go here, and so I like the last thing I want to do is pay this money and then fail out like that, because like I don't want to waste it. Another thing is obviously like my family. They keep me grounded and like wanting to approve, not get their approval, but like wanting to make them proud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A third thing being friends, and then this fourth element, which is the one I'm getting to, which is, if we can cut this out, is like a relationship, a significant other. For me, when I have a significant other, I like I'm talking to a girl right now, and just like talking to her, I'm like, I want to be better for her. Like, I want to like get my stuff done. I want to like make sure I'm like keeping a good headspace, and doing what I have to do to keep that, and keeping my life more organized. For you, I know you are starting a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
would you say she is helping you in that sense?
Yes. Mainly because before we started officially going out, we started hanging out because I was behind on some classes and she was just helping me get caught up. But like being in a relationship really does help you. It does motivate you because I think it's the caring for someone more than yourself. Like you're willing to put yourself through more in order to make them happy, which is a weird feeling. Um, and honestly, what's been motivating me to get my schoolwork done is looking forward to the process of getting my schoolwork done because it means that I get to hang out with my girlfriend more. It means I get to, draw and goof around with this person. It's more of looking forward to stuff in the moment rather than suffering in the moment to feel slightly better 6 months from now.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really good way to put that actually. So that got a little deeper than what I thought. But I was like asking
Yeah.
the question, and as I was asking, I was like, you know what? Like, it's, it's something that I feel like a lot of people, they don't think about necessarily, but recently
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to think, I've been trying to think of things. Um, this is gonna sound like I'm such a douchebag, but in more of a enlightened way, I guess. Like thinking
Mm-hmm.
things like more logically and like what's actually making my brain tick. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
like picking my own brain almost.
Yeah. No, as a college student during, you know, pandemic times, it's it's very important that you are aware of your motivators and you're aware of your stressors and you keep track of things like that because now more than ever, if you're not in a good headspace and if you start to feel a lack of motivation, you can really spiral into isolation and, cutting yourself off from everyone and not leaving your room. It happened to me for a little bit. And it really does take a lot to dig yourself out of that hole. But um,
Yeah,
you just have to really like keep things organized in your brain.
it's one of those things where you just kind of have to like you have to grind on it to get better. It's
Yeah.
like it's like playing a sport. You just have to practice to get better, and that's pretty much I feel like what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to touch on that I know you have experienced and I've experienced in high school. I'm going to say it straight up. I was not a good student, like at all. Like,
Absolutely not.
bro,
Neither was I.
I was physically I was in class. Mentally, I was like mentally I was thinking through, cool, I have a photo shoot later today. I can't wait to do that, or I have a
Mhm.
film shoot later today, or I'm going to um I'm going to work with my mentor on some stuff or whatever, right? Like mentally I was never in class, or I was just thinking about like a monkey like clapping or something. Like seriously.
The bombs from.
Yeah, like the monkey bombs from zombies, Um, so I mean, I passed high school. Obviously, I'm in college now, but I barely passed high school. Like genuinely, I barely passed high school. And if Corona did not happen,
Right.
I probably would have failed math. Not gonna lie.
Yeah,
um,
no, me too.
yeah,
High school was a very, very tough time for me, especially junior and senior year. Um, there's just a lot of bullshit that comes with high school, and I was over it by the time I was in like end of sophomore year. Uh, uh, but especially like with coronavirus, I'm just my Xbox just got
hello
noise,
Xbox.
sorry. Yeah. But especially during Corona times, like high school was very stressful. Uh, Even before then, I hated the people who went to my high school, save for the few people who I saw as friends. Um, it just wasn't a good time.
Yeah,
I'm
and
thoroughly enjoying college much more.
yeah, and I think something that should be said. Me and Luke we went to rival high schools actually.
Mhm.
There's like the three main high schools in our area. They all rival each other. We all don't like each other, but me, Luke, and Brady, we were kind of like the three amigos, the three best friends, and we all went to different high schools. Brady didn't go to the one that rivaled. Brady went to a private school because he was really smart and could go there for free. But something I noticed from the switch from high school to college is because in college you still have to do your gen eds and stuff like that, but for me, I'm in an accelerated learning program, so I'm doing 2 classes a month, but it's that class with like a semester's worth of work, and you're doing it in a month, right? And for me, that's honestly how I like it. I like everything getting thrown at me, and then I work through it. So for me,
Mhm.
like when my college told me that this was an option, I was like, yes, 100%. I want to do this. It'll help me ease my mind. Ooh, sorry, dropped my pen. Um,
You're
I
good.
felt when I came here, I felt way more motivated to actually do the work, and I mean, obviously, my first 2 months was my Common Core classes. Yeah, my first 2 months were my Common Core classes, and dude, like they sucked, but it just it's one of those things that it comes with the territory, and there's peace in knowing that you're gonna go through this, you're gonna finish it, and then after if you're going to like a 4-year school after your year or 2 years of gen ed, and you start to focus on your major, there's like a peace of mind of, okay, I'm now getting to what I want to do.
Mhm.
I like it's like you're on the final stretch, and you just like need to push through, right?
Yeah, you feel like in college there's a lot more visible progress towards your final goal. High school, it just feels like bashing your head against a brick wall time over time again until after 4 years they take that brick wall away.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
but with college, it feels like you can see yourself progressing. The courses are a bit faster. Um, you get a lot more done per week. It's it's structured a lot better than high school, and it brings up a larger question of, you know, how high schools and how public schools in general are, you know, how they operate. Because colleges give you a lot of freedom between like your classes, your schedule, where you live. But with stuff like elementary school and middle school and high school, you pretty much are given a list of classes that you have to take, and then you choose which classes to take at one time. It's
Yeah.
not you're not given any choice, save for like 1 or 2 classes a year.
Yeah. That is a whole topic that I want to tackle that on the next podcast, because that's been sitting on my mind for years. I think the way the public school system is run is just it's not run in a smart way. I want to kind of get back on topic with the art school though. I'm gonna take you guys through what I do, and then Luke, I want you to take them through pretty much what an art day looks like for you. Um,
Okay.
so for me, this month I am taking new media tools, which is pretty much going over, it's scratching the surface of the Adobe suite, and how to use it, because in my industry that's a huge thing. And then I'm taking intro to film and video.
Hmm.
Something I've noticed really quickly is these art labs are so much longer than any other lab that any of my friends have. Because
Oh
I've
yeah.
talked to my brother, he's older than me. He actually went to the same college Luke went to, but he went for business. And my brother was talking about his labs, and he was like, yeah, they're, like three, maybe 4 hours, but you're like working with your group and whatever. and my film lab was 6 hours long, and the first hour of it was a lecture, um, but after that, you're sitting there doing like easy tasks that not easy, but they get easier over time, and it's pretty much just how efficient you can do stuff like wrapping cables, setting up cameras, setting up your lighting schemes, stuff like that. So you're going through that, and I mean, for me, my classes start earlier. They're 9 a.m.s or 8 a.m.s, depending. Um, so you're going to these lectures, then you go to the labs, and the lectures are on Zoom. My labs are in person, but my lectures are on Zoom. So you go to these labs, you're figuring whatever they're trying to teach you out, and you don't really have like, for me, I don't really have a break in between labs. Like, yesterday was Friday, so I woke up at 9, or sorry, no, I woke up at like 8, was in class by 9, did the lecture. The lecture went from 9 to 10, and then the lab was like 10 to 1. So it was a relatively short lab. But in the lecture, he was like, yo, in these next 2 months, like, you're going to have these labs that are just close to 12 hours, and you're just kind of going to have to deal with it because it's what it's going to be like on a film set. So get used to it type deal. And then right after that, I went into my new media tools lab, which wasn't mandatory, and I really wish I didn't go because they were talking about while like we were getting our stuff done with scratching the surface of Premiere Pro, we had this huge project to work on, so my whole group was there. But for the first hour, they wanted to talk about esports and like the stuff you can do with esports when it comes to media, which was kind of interesting, but that was pretty much it. And then the rest of it, I was working on the project. And what I realized is in high school, a lot of this work you do by yourself. Not by yourself, while you're in school, right? Like, you're in school with someone looking over your shoulder, and you're just like doing whatever you have to do. In college, it is so much work that's just evenly spread out on you having to do it on your own, and you also doing work in school. Because I swear, like, I work a pretty even amount of when I'm in class compared to when I'm not in class. Like, it's like I'm almost doing the same amount of time in both respected categories. Now, Luke, for you, it's drawing. So your drawing is definitely tedious, kind of like film is. Is it? Do you feel the same way I do when it goes to, like, you're in class doing work, and then out of class you're doing about the same, like, time-wise, the same amount of work?
Yes. Typically, I spend about an hour or two during class drawing. But out of class, I definitely... I actually might do more drawing out of class because a lot of the in-class portion of the day is about critiquing our past assignments. So we usually critique for like an hour and a half, and then we spend the rest of the time drawing. And a lot of these drawings you have to put like 5-6 hours into. So I'll do an hour and a half in class, and then I'll have to do 3 or 4 hours outside of class. Yeah, it's a lot of work, pretty evenly distributed.
And the other thing is, art students, I was talking with my friend Beck about this. My friend Beck, he is a engineering student at NC State, and we were talking about the different types of, like, pretty much what I have to do compared to what he has to do. And what I realized is it's almost the same amount of work, but it's different types. Like, he's sitting there cracking math problems all day, right? and like more worksheet stuff like that, stuff that's like driven of just question and answer, right? Like more structure to it. Where as art students, they're gonna give you this, for me at least, they're gonna give you this like vague, like kind of gist of what they want you to do, but they critique it so hard. They go so hard on the critiques.
Yeah, art schools are mainly about teaching the students certain tools and certain, like, maybe not shortcuts, but certain skills so that they can use those skills to make a product. They don't teach you how to make that product. They give you the skills to make that product. For film, that can come in the form of editing, lighting, post-processing, even like down to what type of camera you use. But and for art, it's more of like how you're actually like holding the pencil, how you're actually drawing, what angle you hold the pencil at, what types of shading. It's a lot of just different aspects of drawing that you just try and throw together to make as interesting a piece as you can.
It's almost like going into more fundamental stuff. It's almost like going into more detail on more fundamental stuff.
Yeah. Well, subjects like math and science are a lot more grounded and a lot more concrete in like how things are supposed to be done. They don't teach you necessarily the tools, they teach you how to get certain things done.
Yeah. Okay, I want to move on from art school. One last topic. We've been going for a little bit. We've been going for 50 minutes, so almost an hour.
Hell yeah.
We and Luke were talking earlier about how we wanted the format of this podcast to go. We figured let's kind of sandwich it. Let's do a intro. This week it was more of an intro, learning who we are, kind of, get to know us type deal, with then a bigger subject like the Marvel subject or the art school subject, and then we kind of want to end it off with a story time. We've been friends for a really long time. Obviously, we have some wild stories together, and I think we're gonna try to do this one quick. We can go into more detail if people want more detail on it, but summer between freshman and sophomore year of high school, Luke had a little girly friend. We are going to protect innocent people here. We are going to protect names. Okay? We're going to call her Annie. Okay? Annie is a good name. So, Annie lived in my neighborhood, but my neighborhood was like 5 neighborhoods kind of all grouped together. It was just big for no reason. She lived, I guess, a neighborhood over. And she had a pool that was like 100 feet away from her house. Like, it was the neighborhood pool that was 100 feet away from her house. And over the summer, she invited me, Luke, this girl I was talking to, we'll call her Jessica, and our other good friend Brady. I feel like Brady, we'll go into more detail on this story if you guys want more detail, and we'll bring Brady on to tell it. Brady's a great storyteller when it comes to these types of things.
Total shithead.
Anyways, so she invites us all over, and we're like, cool, let's go over, let's hang out at the pool, let's have a fun time.
Now, keep in mind, Annie's parents didn't want her to have us over alone.
Yeah. Her parents to this day are still pretty strict people. I ended up working with her dad last summer. He's retired. I worked at a golf course. If you're an old guy listening to this and you're retired, become a cart boy at a golf course. I'm telling you, you get the free golf at like these great golf courses. You get to wake up early to do something. which I know you retired guys love to do.
It's a nice mind numbing job.
Yeah. So they're very strict parents though. So you kind of know not to mess with them. After we all hang out at the pool, Annie's mom is like, "You boys better go home. I don't want any boys at my house." And Annie's dad was off doing something. He wasn't home, so it was like whatever. And the girl I was talking to at this point, Jessica, she left, so it was just us. So I guess she really wasn't as important to this story as I thought she was. So obviously we're teenage boys and we don't listen to parents, and a teenage girl who doesn't listen to her parents. So we go back to her house expecting, cool, her mom was gonna come back at like 8. We can dip at 7:30. It'll be cool. It'll be straight. There's a problem. Wrong. Annie's mom came home 45 minutes earlier than what she said she was going to. So at this point, and to the pool, we rode skateboards and we biked, and Annie had a place at her house where you could just like kind of hide the stuff, and that's kind of what we did as a just in case measure. So Annie's mom comes home and we hear a door open and close, and then her mom coming up the steps, and Annie's room was right next to the staircase. So Annie had a walk-in closet, so we just sprinted to the closet, and Annie's mom opens the door and is just like, she was kind of R1, and she was like, "Annie, why are you acting so weird, blah 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 blah." And then at one point she tried to go into the closet where we were, and Annie was like, "No, like, stop." She got her away, right? So her mom goes back downstairs. She's starting to make dinner. All right. At this point, it's probably 8 o'clock. We had to be home at 9. We had to be home at 9 that night, right? Which was no issue. It was like a 5-minute walk to 5-minute ride, 5-minute walk to my house from hers. So it wasn't a big deal, but it was 8 at this point. So now we're thinking, how are we going to get Annie's mom out of this house so we can leave and go back to my house?
We tried everything, dude. Like, we tried telling Annie to like go out and get food with her mom. We tried to call for like help. We tried so many
we tried making up stories that we think she would buy, but like, and Annie well, the messed up part was like, throughout all of this, like, we're still hiding in the closet trying to get her to leave. Annie's telling her mom these things. Annie's like actually like trying to get her to leave, and it wasn't working. So eventually her mom was coming up and downstairs while making dinner, and it was finally time for them to eat. And we were like, okay, let's go out on the roof, because Annie's room went right out onto the roof, and we were like, let's figure this out.
Yeah.
This roof was a little slanted, but it was like 20 feet high. Right? It was a tall roof. It was a big boy.
It was well off the ground.
It was well off the ground. It was a big boy. And we're looking at things. We're like, okay, maybe we can jump to that tree and then climb down that tree. We're like, that's a great idea. I think one of us...
And keep in mind, the kitchen that they're making the food in is like right underneath us, 5 feet to the left.
Oh, yeah. It's scary.
It was sketch.
We were in scary times.
Sketch.
We were in scary times because, like, we couldn't make a noise. If we made a noise, they would hear it in the kitchen, like, without doubt. Like, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So we're on the roof, we're game planning, and it was getting late. It was like probably 8:50 by the time we like actually got on the roof, and we're like, okay, we need to figure something out from here then. And so we're like, okay, could we get someone to get us a ladder? And that was a quick no. We were like, we could jump to that tree, climb down the tree, and we were like, no, like, we will get hurt, because it was about 3 feet of dirt and bush and then just brick. So it was like, you're gonna fall on the brick and just die. At the time, I was doing a lot of rock climbing, so I was I was kind of used to the heights, but it wasn't me that suggested. Maybe it was Brady that suggested, like, fuck it, let's just jump, right? And just jump into the bush and dip.
Yeah, there were bushes right below us, but the kitchen was also right there. So we just said, fuck it, we're gonna lower Brady down into the bushes, and then we just sort of dropped him.
Yeah.
And homie sprinted off.
Yeah. Homie dipped, like, straight up. He just left.
Not a word was said. We dropped him. He hit the ground, and he hit the ground running.
Dude.
He just sprinted out.
And so now me and Luke.
Cool idea.
Yeah, and like the reason we did that is because Brady was the shortest, and he was also scared of heights. So we're like, okay, if we lower you down enough, you can drop. And so we see him run. Me and Luke look at each other like, damn, this kid just left us, like, straight up. Like, what is he doing?
Cold-blooded.
Yeah, so we're looking down. I'm like, okay, I guess I look at Luke in the eyes. Okay, this is my favorite part of the story. Like, this is my favorite part of the story. I look Luke dead in the eyes. This was life or death. This was like, my mind was in, like, military mode at this point, because her parents scare me. To this day, they scare me. But Brady eventually came back with, like, the bikes and the skateboards. That's what he ran off to go get. So he was really smart. I look at Luke dead in the eye. I go, yo, if I jump right now, can you jump right after and follow me? And Luke, without skipping a beat, goes, yes. We had a moment, okay? A moment where both of us were like, this needs to get done, and both of us are going to do it. Like I said, I was rock climbing. At this point, I was used to jumping from high places. I did not care. So I was like, cool. I jump. I kind of land in the bush. I get up. I look up at Luke. I go, yo, let's do it. Let's run this. Let's run this ish. Luke did theater in high school, and his musical was Bring It On, which is a cheerleading thing. He had to train with the cheerleaders. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was. Go. You can take over.
Yeah, so I didn't want to just, like, jump down because I was sort of a chicken shit, and I'm also, like, to this day scared of heights. So I just told him to pull one of these, arms straight up, hands flat, so that he could catch, like, my foot. And as soon as I put my foot in his hands, I, like, completely just jumped off. He lowered me down as fast as he could, while also, like, making sure I didn't fall. Holy shit.
I need to tell you this because I feel like it's been a secret for a while. Your foot, you asked me, is my foot in your hand? Your foot was never in my hand. I'm telling you this.
Shit.
Dude, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, we need to go, and the fastest way we're going to do that is if he jumps. So I was like, I had my hands up, but my hands couldn't fully reach your foot. And I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Luke, I got you, which sometimes you have to lie to your friends, all right? For getting out of this situation purposes. I'm like, Luke, I got you, because I knew if I said I got you, he would trust it and just go. And Luke did that. He trusted me, which he should not have in that scenario. And he went, and his foot hit my hand, and your foot was in my hand for probably half a second, and my pinky, my hand, like, scraped on the brick, so I just dropped Luke the rest of the way.
Yeah, no, and then we both, like, hit the ground, and then we both took off, and Brady, the G, we thought he was gone at this point. We thought he had just booked it, riding off into the sunset. No, this G brings both the skateboards and the bike around to the front, and Kev and I just hop on and we just take off.
Dude, we were out. Oh my god.
Fucking Mission Impossible, James Bond. It was one of the coolest things that I've ever done.
It was like, for me, it was like the first, like, big teenage experience that you get away with,
Yeah,
like every kid has that one thing where you, like, feel the most alive because you just did something you weren't supposed to do and you got away with it.
Yeah, no, it was definitely one of those, like, coming of age adolescence movie moments.
Oh yeah.
Like one of those
100%.
perks of being a wallflower moments.
It was great.
It was great. Fun times.
A little detail.
More stories where that one came.
Oh, tons. Little detail. 3 years later, Annie and her mom, they were over at my house for Thanksgiving, or was it 2 years later? Maybe it was 2 years later. But they were over at my house to do like a Thanksgiving dinner, like kind of bringing all the families together. My mom wanted to do this huge like Friendsgiving, so we just invited everyone over, and she came. And she comes over to me, and we're talking, and she like heard something that night, and she knew something was up, and she asked me. And I had to look at this woman in the eyes, and I was like, I just like lied straight to her face. I was like, yeah, nah, nothing happened. I don't know what you're talking about. That's wild.
I mean, shit, you're not gonna pop yourself, right?
Yeah, I was like, bro, like, I ain't about to snitch on myself. Like, what do you mean? All right. So that was episode 1 of the Daybreak podcast. You know, we've been running for about hour 4 minutes. You know,
That's a good length.
Yeah, we're aiming for like 45 minutes to an hour. We went a little over. You know, it's fine. But yeah, if you guys want another episode, we're gonna do 3. So you're gonna get another episode, anyways. My goal is to upload this on like Monday, so I can have tomorrow to edit it. We're filming it on Saturday. But yeah, next podcast, I really want to talk about the public school system. That's gonna be a pretty interesting one. And then
absolutely,
yeah, throughout the week we go through some stuff. We're gonna next week we're gonna talk about the public school, but we're also gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna be doing some stuff. So keep an ear.
Expect some funny stories. Expect some coverage of any big like movie stuff that's going on. We keep track of all the Marvel stuff. Video game news. We'll basically cover all of the big things that have happened in entertainment through the week.
Yeah.
Expect some real deep discussions on, you know, the inner workings of the cosmos.
Oh yeah, for sure. The meaning of life.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. All right.
Exactly.
But thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe if you like this. If we put out an audio version of this, follow us on whatever we put this out on. It's probably going to be Spotify and SoundCloud. But yeah, thank you guys so much. That is a wrap.
If y'all want to hold up.
Oh.
If y'all want to get to know us a little bit more, feel free to follow our social medias. The links will be in the description, I imagine.
Yes, they will. All right. Awesome. Talk to you guys later. Bye.